and reach out to seniors like that have just graduated who, when they heard EAOP was cut, immediately reached out because they knew how difficult that process was without that guidance. And so I feel like changing that funding really says like what, like, even if this isn't your opinion, puts this kind of light on you that you believe that the future of the students of PVUSD don't like aren't going towards that college higher education future. You're just saying that they are more likely to be policed and need to have that detention instead of those options for education and higher education. And the best way to prevent like violence and all of that is through education of the students. And so I feel like that says a lot about what you believe us students are going to do and where we're going to end up. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Next person, be brave, hit the unmute button.
Hi, hello.
Go
Can
ahead.
everyone hear? Okay, okay, okay. I'll try and keep this as concise as I can, uh, with respect to everyone else in order to give them sufficient time. So I have no camera right now because I'm doing this on my phone, and I'm reading off my phone. So here we go. I'd like to first say good evening to all the board members, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. My name is Herman Rafael Gonzalez, and I'm an incoming junior. I suppose you could sometimes call me a student leader, but frankly, that shouldn't matter much in how you value my words. So I will go as far to tell you that I am a high schooler at Watsonville High School. I'm here to speak against renewing our contracts with our SROs. A common defense for school resource officers that I would like to address is by focusing on the single good that a school resource officer has done and how terminating contracts with school resource officers would supposedly remove them from a community that they're already ingrained into. And while I cannot deny some of the good work that our school resource officers have done and that our own Officer Cleaver has done at Watsonville High School, the conversation that we have cannot be about what single good one school resource officer has done, but rather it needs to be and has to be about how having school resource officers, by having police officers on campus, affects the general attitude that students have towards their school, how it affects what we, the students, believe the attitude towards us are, and if there was a better place for the money we spent on our contract with the Watsonville Police Department to be, which I firmly believe there most certainly is. By nature of having students being in a school setting, there's a separation between the student and the school, which can be a good thing, but a problem arises when that distance increases far too much. And this distance between the students and their school is increased by having police presence on campus. When we have SROs on campus, this environment is bred where we as students don't really feel as if our main goal is to learn and grow. It's not like the healthiest learning environment, and anything that is preventing or inhibiting students from learning and growing, I believe, has to go, as that's the main objective of going to school. And that includes school resource officers. Now, whatever the PVSD decides to do likely won't go perfectly the first time, and that's okay. But we cannot leave things as is. When tons of students and members of our PVSD community are taking time out of their summer in the middle of a extremely stressful and hectic year, then to do anything less than listening to their sound arguments and making the correct choice here, I believe would be a disservice to the PVSD community as a whole. So I hope you all make the correct choice in joining us in support for the removal of SROs from our campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. Next speaker, be brave. Remember, this is current and then class of 22.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Alma Leonor. I am an incoming senior at PV. I wasn't planning on speaking, but something came to mind. I thought about the defunding of EAOP and the funding of the SRO officers at high schools. And it came to mind when the previous speaker was speaking of what students are doing in high schools and what their goal is in education. And for me, that would be learning, building community and education and things that will benefit them. So when you defund a system that is built to help students succeed, and you fund a system that is built to incarcerate brown youth, it is very disrespectful, and I see it as not for this community. And honestly, I hope that things turn around and we can build more resources for youth instead of paying so much money to officers to just stand at the high schools. And when students see the officers, I feel like they're growing a familiarity with this system, with these officers, which shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't be growing more comfortable with seeing police in our communities. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Oops. I was muted. Sorry. That was great. Next speaker, be brave. So let me open this up to former students now too. And that doesn't mean that current students, your time is over. If you have something that you still want to say, you're in line. But former students who'd like to speak now, hop in.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claudia. I attended Watsonville High School, started in 2011. I graduated in 2015. The SRO officers always made me feel a little uneasy. I didn't understand really the point of them. When I was in high school, I would see them and I would wonder to myself, like, why do we need to be monitored in this way? Why do we, what is this like? I was aware of the, the prison pipeline. I was like, is this a part of this? And now I graduated college and I'm still wondering, like, why do we need that? I didn't see a point to it. And I just felt like we were considered to be like dangerous or something. And it just didn't make me feel safe at all. I felt less safe actually with them around because of the weapons that they carried. And in my mind, just like statistically, like logically, maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I see it. If there is a weapon, like a gun present, the chances of something going wrong or someone getting hurt are so much more greater than if there are no weapons present. And I could be totally off on that, but that's just how I see things. So I'm glad these conversations about, potentially removing the SROs, I'm glad that's coming up, and hopefully they do get removed, and that's where I stand with that. As for EAOP, that was my safe haven, like my junior and senior year, every day after school, applying for colleges. And I was lucky because I have a lot of family who has been to college and, could have helped me if I didn't have EAOP. But I knew a lot of my friends who didn't would be totally lost in the college application process if they didn't have EAOP. And I still remember the counselor that I went to see every day. Her name was Evelyn. And yeah, they helped me a lot. And I ended up going to Cal State Long Beach, and now I live in LA, and I'm like really grateful that they helped me navigate that space, the whole college application space. And it was like a safe place to go too after school. My parents didn't pick me up until like 5 or 6. So it was something that I could do that was productive and again, would help me with my college apps. So yeah, that's my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Next speaker.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Bennett, and I wrote a little something, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. My name is Emily Bennett, and I graduated from Watsonville High School in 2016, and recently just graduated from UCLA with a Bachelor's of Science degree. During my 4 years at Watsonville High School, my friends and I never felt unsafe or threatened by other students at the school or by the community. In fact, during the time, I remember feeling confused and uncomfortable with the fact that there was an armed police officer present on school grounds. Having this unnecessary and menacing presence resulted in a large number of students feeling threatened and fearful of being systematically categorized as a danger to others. These past few months have brought to light the undoubtedly dark times of our country, where minority groups are being stigmatized and even murdered at alarming rates. The invisible barriers that emerge from institutional laws and practices produces inequalities and distress for particular groups across race, gender, and class. School should be a place where students feel safe, where they are encouraged to pursue their dreams and let their voices be heard. School should absolutely not be yet another place where these students are discouraged and fearful of walking to and from class. Having an on-duty police officer will not provide a sense of safety, but will continue to foster a hostile environment where institutional oppression is present. In fact, it is shown that police presence in schools results in higher rates of suspensions, expulsions, and arrests that funnel students into the criminal justice system, predominantly involving students of color. Instead, I strongly believe that these funds should be reallocated to programs that will promote success and both invigorate students to go to college and help to dismantle systemic racism that we see today. Some of these programs include EAOP and Upward Bound. On behalf of myself, my peers, and members of the Watsonville community, I strongly urge you to reconsider your decision on partnering with the Watsonville Police Department to have SROs on campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. All right, next speaker. Be brave.
I'll go ahead and speak. Can you guys hear me all right? Mr. Jones, do you?
Yep.
Okay, great. My name is Leah Lopez. I am Watsonville High School class of 2017. I am currently a junior at Santa Clara. I'll be in the class of 2021. As you guys know, when the choice was made to fund SROs and defund AAOP, we were outraged. Many of us would not have been where we are today without the support of programs like EAOP, Gear Up, and Upward Bound. Like Alma beautifully put, when the support groups that support when the districts that we trust support restraining our youth rather than the ones that help us grow, it hurts. We are hurt. We see students who grew up in the same city as us, who go to schools like St. Francis and Monte Vista, and will never face the same experiences as us in terms of policing. Yet they have the resources that push their students to go to and do well in college. I have never felt safe with the SROs on campus. From what I experienced at Watsonville High, our SRO did not step in during conflict. Rather, he walked around campus with the presence that we were less than. It allowed us to believe that we were less than and that we were subjected to feel inferior to our police forces. Meanwhile, myself and countless others spent our lunches, after school time, and spring breaks with EAOP to work on our standardized testing, our financial aid, and our college applications. When we prioritize SROs, we affirm to our students that they are meant to be policed rather than to thrive in academia. I have two younger brothers, one that is currently a freshman at Watsonville High and another that is going to be incoming to Watsonville High. I want them to know that their college experience is prioritized. I want them to know that their success is prioritized and that they shouldn't have to feel like they are policed on campus. They shouldn't have to feel like they are bound to be in trouble with the police or in trouble in jail. And currently with our SROs, that's what we feel. We feel like that's what we're being subjected to. So please, please hear our students out and allow us to feel like you want us to thrive as well, as much as we want to, as much as our parents want to. Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to hear all the other voices here.
Thank you, Leah. That was really sweet. I know this is a listening session and not an adult talking session. I want to make sure that everyone does know EAOP is back. And it doesn't mean that everything that you are saying about EAOP funding versus SRO funding is invalid. Continue to have that discussion, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, knowing where we stand with that program. But you're right. All those things you're saying are right. Okay, next. I think it's
Hi,
for it.
can you hear me? Sorry. My name is Kayla, and
Yep.
I just graduated from Watsonville High. I'll be attending UC Berkeley in the fall. And I didn't prepare anything, so I'm sorry if this is kind of rambly. But I think that, like at least coming from Watsonville, you have a community that more often than not has negative experiences with police officers more than positive experiences. So I think that when you have a police presence on campuses, it's really difficult for students to feel comfortable and safe and to feel like they're trusted and to want to be engaged with their academics, because it's a frightening and negative experience to go onto a campus when you've had negative experiences with police, and for them to constantly be around. I think that it's just very distracting and it's difficult to focus on your studies, and that's why you go to school. Another thing that I'd like to point out is that I watched the last board meeting with the SRO presentation, and I think someone when they were presenting was speaking, and there was the duties that were listed for SROs on Aptos's campus and the duties for SROs on PV High's campus and Watsonville High's campus. And for SROs on Watsonville High and PV High's campus, there were at least like 10 or 15 duties. They were very involved when in student life and on the campuses. And for the SRO on Aptos High's campus, it only had like 2 or 3 duties. And so my question is that if SROs are only meant to enforce district policy, then why is it that SROs on Watsonville High's and PV High's campus have more duties? And why is it that they're less involved on Aptos High's campus? So does this have to do with the different demographics and who goes to Watsonville and PV's schools? Or I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, do you trust Aptos students more than you trust Watsonville and PV High students? Do you fear Watsonville High and PV High students more than you do Aptos High students? That's just very upsetting to me, especially because I went to Watsonville High and I feel like that's a very strong community and I never feared any of my classmates. So yeah, I'm very upset about that. I think that you have over 50 community members here who are obviously very outraged and want the SRO contract to be ended. So I think that if that doesn't happen, it's, I don't know. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Next speaker, be brave. You don't have to have anything prepared. This place is for just to speak your mind and share what you think. Even if it sounds a little
Hi,
random.
everyone.
There you go. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I also didn't have anything prepared for today, but I was taking notes. And my name is Daisy. I went to PV and I graduated 2014. I went to Cabrillo after college, so luckily I didn't have to use like all of the EAOP, but I definitely saw a lot of my friends like devoting a lot of time, like was mentioned earlier, during lunches after school. So I'm definitely glad to hear that it's back, because it was very like worrisome to hear that it was defunded at some point, which like people talked about. That says a lot about what they think about where the money should be invested and like what's prioritized. And like something that I've noticed recently is how much you notice the effects after you leave Watsonville. Like I currently live in San Diego, and it's just insane how much you start to realize, like as you learn about systematic racism and just the way that the world operates and the funding and how they just really don't care. And I'm just so proud of everyone for being here. I wasn't expecting to get emotional. Like, I've never been active, but I really want to just be part of this conversation because I care. And it was really touching to hear you say that in the beginning, because it's like, I feel like I don't know enough, but it's like the fact that we're all here, it says something. Sorry. And like, I just want to emphasize like how important it is to like prevent all of these like statistics that they're using against us, because it's like what was mentioned earlier about like other schools like St. Francis and like more of like the white dominant schools, and it's like offensive, like you said. And it's just crazy because it's like I didn't even realize what I was a part of when I was in high school. And I guess that's why it's like it's so touching to see like current students like using their voice and actually being active, because I feel like I didn't do enough. But it's like I didn't know. I was ignorant, and maybe times were different back then. Like I don't know. Like I remember having conversations with my friends who like studied political science and like just the way that the world works, and I was just like amazed to learn about like what happened to me. It was like I was a victim of that and I had no idea. So it's like leaving Watsonville and just like seeing how the youth is affected now, it's just so crazy. And it's like I even remember experiences with like police officers at school and like rumors about them like sexually harassing students or like using excessive force, and like things just like flew over my head, but it's like it was there the whole time. and it's just, yeah, it's just so sad. So yeah, I'm just really happy to see everybody here, and yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Me too. I agree. Thank you. Next brave speaker.
Sorry, I have to jump off, but I don't mean to hijack the meeting, but I just want to say I'm so proud of all the former students, and I'm so happy all the or current students. I'm proud of you current students, and then the former students too. I'm so happy we're all getting together to do this. And it is true that EAOP is back, right? But to the board members, that program should never be on the chopping block. That should never be considered to be getting rid of. That is an essential service, like the grocery store, like the fire department. EAOP is essential. And thank you again, everyone. I have to hop off, but take care and talk soon. Bye.
Bye, Claudia. Next brave speaker.
Can I go?
Yep.
Hello, my name is Antonio Fernandez. I was a Watsonville High alumni. Like many of my peers have stated, EOP has been a crucial part of many of our higher education journeys. And when the board passed a budget that cut a resource that is so crucial for many students coming from already underserved and underprivileged schools, they really let us know who they were there to serve. And let me just tell you, it wasn't the students. The board only passed the refunding of EOP after they were called out for it. This refunding, while great, served as their attempt at putting a Band-Aid over a bigger issue. There are historical implications with policing and communities of color, and for PVUSD to continue to perpetuate that excessive and targeted policing, even after many of its students have told them that SRS do not make them feel safe at school, is dismissive and a disservice to the community they serve. Many students, how many students is it going to take for you to take the criticism and take some action? And that question goes out to the board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Next speaker.
Hi. Oh,
Go for it.
can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Nudia, and I am a PV alumni. I graduated in 2017, and I am now a rising senior at UC Berkeley. And I just really wanted to come on this call to listen to the community's needs. And so far, like I have heard a lot of students mention EAOP and like their impact on everybody's journey. And I just want to echo that as well. Like I didn't even know what AUC Berkeley was when I first came into PV. I didn't know, like I knew I was good at like my subjects and whatnot, but without them, like I would not be where I am at all. But I also want to emphasize that the reason we all grasped to this resource so hard is because it's one of the only ones. Like there is no resources for other students. And this always kind of was in the back of my head when I would go on field trips with EAOP, when I would go to programs with Gear Up, and then I would see that other students whom may have not been as academically high up on the roster, whatever that means, they did not have access to these like quote unquote like privileges. And like, what does that say about how we view students in the first place? There is such a disproportionate gap between students who perform quote unquote like academically well versus students who don't. And this kind of like SRO funding that we have here should be redirected towards providing resources to those students and not just kind of letting them like fall off and just like survive high school, just graduate and like get a job. Like we should be focusing on these students and seeing what we can do to help them develop, because it is just insulting to everybody how much emphasis is put on a few students who are performing well and how the rest of the students are just kind of forgotten. And where do these kind of SROs kind of target? They target these students who may not be as motivated, who may not feel safe at school, who may not feel comfortable around the campus. These become targets for these SROs to charge them for like petty misbehaviors or just some sort of thing that the administration doesn't want to deal with. They just become the police's problem. And that is concerning because this kind of, like someone said, funnels these students into the criminal justice system when they are younger. And then this sort of cycle just becomes more perpetuated as they grow up. And so I would just like to echo everybody's EAOP sentiments, but I also would like to push for what everybody is talking about in many cities all over the world about defunding the police. We need to defund the police within our campuses and reinvest in our students. We don't need any more police officers. We need more resources. And yeah, I don't want to take up too much time, but that is just what I noticed that nobody's really talking about. And we need more resources. We need more de-escalation. If we really want our campuses to be safe, we need more de-escalation professionals. We need more mental health counselors. Like, well, the time that I was at PV, none of this was there. And I'm not sure how the situation is now. But I remember even for like school counselors, you saw maybe once a year. And this is not enough. We need more resources. We do not need more police officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next brave speaker.
I wanted to make a quick point, not specifically on the SROs, but more about the military recruiters on campuses and how that should be completely removed. Because again, they're just there to enforce like recruitments on children of color and specifically brown communities and schools when we are already being targeted. And again, what the previous speaker said, mental services and counselors are not being provided. And I've never been offered to speak to a mental counselor, not once, but I have seen the military recruiters doing push-up challenges and making games, handing out brochures more than once, at least 5 times a year. And I feel like that's completely wrong. Also, with what's happening now, I'd like to point out that military recruiters on campuses aren't pointing out the abuse that's happening in the military, abuse of power, and what they're going into, what children of color are going into when they sign up for the military. They're going in there thinking that they're going to make money for their families, and that's the way that they're going to stay out of prison, and that this is a good way to stay stable in a society that isn't serving them. But honestly, the military recruiters just go and, make games. I've seen them do push-up challenges with the students and hand out brochures. It's really not, it's disrespectful. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next brave speaker.
Hi, my name is Anthony Flores. I already graduated class of 2020, and I wanted to add it on to what Leonor said about military recruiters being on campus and doing all those challenges and stuff like that. Schools, I noticed that the high schools tend to promote that a lot more instead of mental health services, and that also connects to with the whole SRO issues, that instead of investing money into SROs, or instead of promoting things like joining the military or the Navy, we should start investing into mental health services. One of my CAP projects was creating the Wellness Center, and it was pretty much a center to give students a safe place to relax if they feel overwhelmed or if they have anxiety. And I feel like every high school in PVUSD should have a wellness center, and that every high school should invest in something like that, and in that every high school, or more, the PVUSD should invest in mental health services for many students. I feel like we need to stop policing our students and actually start helping our students through issues that they face at home or within the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anthony. Next
Yeah,
brave
going
speaker.
off of what Anthony and I think Nuria also mentioned. Oh, sorry, can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I feel like because you increase the funding for SROs, you're saying that you acknowledge that students act out, which, I mean, it makes sense because they're teenagers and they make mistakes. But also, like, a lot of teenagers face traumas, like Anthony was saying, at home, that can make them act in certain ways that are not like favorable in school settings. But yeah, like funding the SRO is saying that the solution to that is to police the students, and that shouldn't be the solution to kids having trauma, or that shouldn't be like the way that you need to solve things. Like Anthony and Nuria were saying, I think the best way to handle this situation of like students acting out is to give more mental health help, give them more resources for that. Like, yeah, I think more focus should be put more on the well-being of the student than on policing them and just negative consequences for students overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next brave speaker.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so hi, I'm Lucia Umeki Martinez, and I'm an incoming junior at Wattsville High, and I'm an active member in my community. I'd like to thank Mr. Jones today for organizing this meeting, and Dr. Rodriguez and the trustees who are present today for listening to the students and former students who are making their voices heard. That being said, if you choose to renew the SRO's contract with the Watsonville Police Department, you cannot claim that you listen to the students you were supposed to serve. Because an overwhelming amount of students, my peers and myself included, are strongly advocating against having police on campus. It criminalizes young students of color, which the schools in PVSD predominantly are. Having police on campus creates an unsafe space. It directly feeds into the school to prison pipeline. Having SROs on campus is not beneficial to students at all. This is not what the students in PVSD want. We want support in seeking higher education with programs such as EAOP. And I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the school districts in Oakland and San Francisco have gotten rid of the contracts with the SROs on their campuses. So why can't we do that in Watsonville? And once again, I'd like to thank the trustees and Dr. Rodriguez for taking the time to listen to what I have to say today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. Who's next?
Hello.
Hi, Jocelyn. Go for it.
I'm not sure if you guys, sorry if I cut off. My Wi-Fi is really bad up here. But I graduated last year, and as a white passing Latina in a predominantly, like people have reiterated, community of color, it has been incredibly upsetting just to see like an under-resourced district community. We've had teachers fighting for higher wages. We've had students advocating once, not only this year, of course, it has been very, very strong this year, but like for years, they've been advocating for resources like EAOP, which has helped me so much, counselors, emotional, as well as academic counselors, we need those resources. And for me, a solution, it's so simple. Like by removing these SROs, we have the leeway to use the money that we are using for these people, and allocate it to places that we should be focusing on. Like, we have so much potential as a community, and it is sad to see kids, teenagers being criminalized every year, and once again feeding into the school to prison pipeline. We have so much potential, and it's just upsetting to see that you guys, or sorry, I don't mean to target, to see that this is even up for debate. Once again, like, a school is supposed to be a safe space. It's supposed to be a space where, you know, you figure yourself out, not only academically, but as a person. And it's so hard to do that when you go into this place and you are fearing that you're going to be policed or that you're going to be stopped for one way or another. And like I said, I have the privilege of not having these experiences firsthand, but I've seen so many people have so much potential turn out just, I guess, bad because of these SROs on campus. They're not necessary. A lot of the time they're just standing there. I'm sorry. Don't mean to call them out, but it's true. And to me, it's like everything that is wrong with the school or any of the issues that we have can be resolved in other ways. Not with violence, not with policing, not with any of that. We need to allocate these resources to places where they are actually needed. This is an emergency. This is what we should be focusing on. And it's sad that this hasn't been resolved earlier. But I'm glad that we're here now, and I'm glad that we're listening, and I'm glad that we've decided that we're tired and it's time to stand up. And I'm so happy that I see people that have graduated coming on here and advocating for their community because it's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Who's next?
Hello, can I be heard?
Go for it.
So, hello, my name is Carla Avila. I am going to be a senior at Watsonville High School, and I've been sitting here and listening to other people's comments and what they've been saying. And I actually was able to study this for a while in one of my classes, and I've learned a lot. And honestly, what upsets me the most is that our district is funding SROs, which like someone stated before, feeds into the school to prison pipeline, which is a huge problem in our district that I've observed for many years. Because having SROs on campus actually, they feed into the school to prison pipeline. And usually, since our campus is a majority or has a majority of students of color, it has actually been proven that compared to white students and students of color get punished more severely or harshly than white students, even if they broke the same rule or they get caught doing the same. They just get caught breaking the same rule. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit because I didn't have anything prepared. But also this feeds into the labeling theory that SROs enforce into our schools. The labeling theory is basically a theory that if you identify or make someone identify themselves as something, they will continue to believe that within themselves. So having SROs on our campus label our students as criminals, even though they don't say it directly. You're treating us like we have to be watched, or you think we could do something horrible or can turn into criminals. And that sometimes that just creates such a that just takes away so much trust from us as students, and it hurts us so much. And having this so much in our having this on our campus can lead for some people to be alienated and causes a lot of more suspensions, arrests, and expulsions within our schools. And also taking away the funding from necessary project or programs in our schools, like the EAOP program, or maybe even not funding a lot more mental health counselors in our schools, actually does not does not meet our educational goals to help students succeed, and that increases our dropout rates, and it also can increase someone's court involvement in, or just involvement in the criminal justice system if they drop out or they get expelled from a school. And honestly, what upsets me the most too is that we rather fund SROs on our campus than fund the program that actually helps first generation students or students that honestly just need help finding a way or like a pathway that in life or finding their passion in life, to just fund SROs and then take away a program that is actually needed so much in our community from the students. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla.
I wanted to speak next. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Rosa Noriega Rocha. I'm currently a student at the University of Southern California. I want to share a particular experience with the SRO at Watsonville High School that to this day, I can't actually believe it happened, but it did. This occurred during my police at the time to do just that. We're around 6.
Rosa, I think you're cutting off. I think we dropped you, Rosa.
Sorry, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we didn't hear much of anything though, so you kind of cut out for most of it. Try turning off your camera so that way your internet speed might go a little faster.
Hear me or no?
No, we just heard just a little bit just now.
Okay.
Okay, I think you're good now. You there, Rosa? Okay, Rosa says continue without me. She's having some internet problems. Sorry, Rosa. I feel ya. I'm in the same boat. Next brave speaker.
Hi. My name is Sophia Elizalde, and I'm a current student at Yale University and class of 2019 of Watsonville High School alum. So I just want to echo many of my peers' experiences with EAOP and how helpful they were to me as a first and low-income student. Navigating college applications in general for anyone can be very difficult, but especially as someone who has no experience in that and who can't really go to anyone for help outside of EAOP and counselors. They were very valuable to me in my experience in high school and getting into college, just period. And then I also want to say, like, at my time at Watsonville High, never once did I seek out an SRO for any sort of help or support. My only experiences with SROs is me witnessing them either arresting or punishing students or just standing around not really doing anything. Whenever you're talking about keeping SROs in school, the question you're really asking is whether
Welcome to Google Meet.
whether you're looking for whether you're more interested in a system of punitive justice versus restorative justice. And I think for
Your call will be connected when you enter the PIN
worthwhile
followed by the pound.
1 second, Sophia. Hold on. Rosa, I think you have to hit mute now that you're back. Okay, go, Sophia. Keep going.
And I think we can see from all of these other students' testimonies about SROs is that punitive justice is damaging, especially for our current students who have to live underneath a heavily policed area that is frankly over-policed, where they feel and are viewed as criminals in their own towns. I believe, like, sorry, I got flustered. Whenever just frankly, the money that you're putting towards policing our students could be put towards other methods of restorative justice that could support them in ways like emotionally and whenever they're looking at their future. Instead of seeing a police officer that's there to punish them, they could see more socio-emotional counselors that are there to hear them. And so talk about their feelings instead of taking it out in not constructive ways. We could see more art classes potentially, more support for drama and theater. We could even see more counselors for career guiding. Even during like career day, I've noticed at my time at Watsonville High, the majority of careers that are on display are military based. The military, Army, Navy take up a large chunk of what is on display on career day. And whenever you go to other people to talk about their careers, a lot of the times those people just never show up. In my experience going to career day, many times I've just sat in the classroom for an hour or two waiting for someone to show up who never did. So I feel we should really expand our horizons past policing our students and instead support them in ways that so they can succeed in the future instead of feeling criminalized or monitored by the police in their school. School should be a place for students to find their future and feel supported and not have to live in fear of being profiled. So thank you for your time. Thank you for setting this up. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for being helping our students share their voice and just being sort of a go-between us and current students and alumni and the school board. That's all. Thank you.
Good job, Sophia. Who's next?
I'll go next if nobody else is. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Sorry about that. Okay, so my name's Eliana. I actually just graduated this year from Pacific Coast Charter. But that wasn't because I wanted to. That was actually because I was kicked out of Watsonville High School my freshman year. And I'm actually here to speak out against SROs. And like I said, I got kicked out, and that's also one of the reasons. But you know, my freshman year, I did go to counseling, and I actually had a lot of social emotional issues. And, you know, instead of getting that help, because I was only able to see one of the counselors once every 2 weeks because she had so many other kids that she had to talk to. And, you know, I wasn't getting that help. So I did, you know, start hanging around probably the wrong people. And I ended up getting into trouble. You know, through a fight, and I ended up getting kicked out that same day. So, you know, that just kind of is my personal experience with, you know, like the fact that I could have gotten a lot more help if we had, you know, some more resources on campus. I think that, you know, even if I was giving a second opportunity, which I was given at my other school, which actually helped me, you know, I graduated, I was able to go to Cabrillo. I was concurrently enrolled. I was able to get ahead of the program, but that was because I was given the resources. At Watsonville, I was given one chance, and you know, it was actually Officer Johnson that took me to the office, you know, and you know, unfortunately, I knew that was going to be my last time there, but that's just one of my personal experiences. But you know, just the fact that I actually have a couple notes right here that I had taken, but you know, almost $500 million from, you know, our budget goes to just cops alone. And I think, you know, that's a pretty big number. We're talking $500,000. And like I said, you know, if that were to go to counselors or even more resources on campus, I think we could definitely have a different outcome, you know, and that also reflects, you know, the numbers we have the top suspensions in the county, which, you know, that's kind of embarrassing. You know, I don't think that really reflects our students. I kind of think that honestly, it reflects the people that are leading us. So with that said, I don't think that SROs are going to be the solution here. I think, you know, maybe having more resources and more counselors to talk to, more people that could lead us in the right direction. You know, and even how they were talking about on career day, you know, like we need more people that are going to show us what we need to do instead of people that are going to get us in trouble or people that are going to, you know, like at the end of the day, it really is victimizing us. I actually went to one of the protests in San Jose not too long ago, and it was really scary seeing those officers in front of me with guns. You know, it actually makes me sad to think that I overheard a cop literally saying, he said, shoot at whoever I point at. And I screamed back, are you serious? Because I was scared at that point. An officer was saying they were going to shoot at us. And we were peacefully protesting with our signs up. We weren't doing anything wrong. We literally were telling these cops we are not doing anything besides holding our signs. You know, and it's to make a point. And they did say, whoever I point at, shoot. Right after that, there was tear gas thrown at us, and they started chasing us. And I've never ran so fast in my life. I actually was very scared because, you know, in a moment like that, who do you call for help? Because you're not going to call the cops. They're the ones chasing you. You know what I mean? And so, you know, for that to be an experience, and I actually had my boyfriend's little sisters with me, and they're 8th graders. They're going to be freshmen. So I really don't think you placing more cops on campuses is going to make them feel any more safe when they even had experiences like that. So again, I am very against SROs, and I think a lot of everybody on here, I could pretty confidently say are against SROs. So I actually watched the last school board meeting, and it kind of irritated me, honestly, to kind of hear how some of the trustees were saying that they felt safe with having SROs on campuses, because I don't really think that it's really about you guys. I think that you guys kind of need to listen to the students here. And that's not in any disrespectful way. I'm just saying that there's 46 people on this call right now. And I know a lot of other kids my age who I've personally spoke to that do not feel any more safe with cops on campuses. So if you could just please listen to the students, you know, this time, we all really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Rosa, you want to try again?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Eliana, for that comment. That's actually very important and very powerful. Let me try again. So I want to share a particular experience with the SRO at Watsonville High School that to this day, I cannot believe actually happened. This occurred during my senior year of high school, so 2017. There was a lot of tension given the amount of police brutality videos that had surfaced on social media that year. I guess our principal at the time really wanted to create the sense of community within students and police. So we had this event which intended to do just that. After showing up late, our SRO stood in front of the library, and there were about 60 to 70 of us in attendance. And just awkwardly stared at us. He began by telling us that the media does a good job at portraying police officers as quote unquote bad individuals. He also stated that we should not be quick to judge videos of police officers who are using excessive force because the media only shows us part of the story, not the full story. After awkwardly staring at each other in silence, he asked us, "So, what makes you all feel so afraid of police officers?" To which I replied, "Well, anyone who is well versed in American history knows that your profession originated from volunteer slave patrol catchers. Don't you think there might be a correlation there?" Offended and clearly disturbed by my comment, the SRO was quick to discredit me and stated that he had never heard of such historical fact and quickly shifted the conversation. It was unfortunate and very discouraging for me as a young scholar to be in a room of history teachers who were complacent and did not think to correct this SRO. After my daring comment, more students chimed in and called him in on his positionality as a white man, to which he was, of course, defensive. He basically tried debunking white privilege by stating that if he had any privilege, why was it that he had been denied a job for being unable to speak Spanish? So I guess he had applied for like a higher ranked position within Watsonville PD, but he wasn't qualified, so he didn't get the job, right? He stated that in fact he felt that being denied the job further proved that he was not privileged. He wasn't this white privileged male that we painted him out to be. He asserted to us that if he were truly privileged, he would have gotten the job position. Once again, none of the adults at this event dared to even question him or inform him that being disqualified for a job position due to his limited linguistic abilities did not mean that he didn't benefit from white supremacy. This being said, it worries me that the very staff that y'all have prioritized don't even know the origins of their profession. It worries me that our youth have to continue educating white police officers who in the first place shouldn't even be in our schools. And I mean, to conclude, the issue of over-policing that occurs in school districts like that of PVUSD is one that deserves to be addressed and analyzed through a historical lens. Our trustees must actively engage in reading materials which inform them about the detriments of police on school grounds. Moreover, they also need to learn to respond to the needs and concerns of the very students they work for. Quite frankly, I don't care that trustee DeSerpa feels safe with the presence of SROs on school grounds, particularly when there is plenty of reliable evidence that suggests that non-white students, which are the majority of PVUSD students, are subject to over-criminalization by their school-sanctioned police officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa.
Can I go next?
You can go for it.
Hi, my name is Yesenia Jimenez. I graduated 2012. I currently work as an environmental educator. My office is located at PV High. And also I wanted to say that EAOP helped me a lot when I was going to school and when I was applying for colleges, and it was really helpful because I was also first generation. But in terms of cops being on campus, I don't really see the need for it. I'm on campus at PV High most of the time. Sometimes I go over to Watsonville High, and you guys are spending so much money to have a cop stand around during lunch. Literally sometimes they're in their car. I see this because I go on and off campus, so sometimes I drive by and the cop is just sitting in his car, or during lunch we'll just be standing around chatting with the other campus security. And it's just why are we spending so much money on that when a lot of our kids have below their grade of reading levels? And this is and this starts from when I'm getting angry, but this starts from when the kids are younger. I have nephews, and I have 5 nephews and a niece that go to Watsonville High, and they're juniors. They're going to be juniors and sophomores. And it's just hard for me to see, because I was away at college and stuff, and so I couldn't help them as much with their homework. And it's hard to see them be behind in school because classes are overcrowded. You're not giving them enough resources if they need tutoring. You want to have cops there to keep people out of trouble, but that makes no sense. cops are just going to see kids in a certain way. Now that I work as an educator within the district, like I work with kids, I have interns, and there's a kid that he comes from a family who has like gang affiliations, you know, and he's trying his best to get away from it. But his style, the way he dresses is still like baggy pants, like plain white t-shirt, like a hat. And he's been an intern with me for the past year. He helps me do like trash pickups for composting at PV High. And I know for a fact that he feels uncomfortable with like police presence. And I know for a fact that like I know other students who also have ties to like to gangs through their families have had negative interactions with police since they were younger. And it's not even anything because of anything they've done. It's just because like, you know, like that's who the family has been. Also, like in terms of like gang violence in Watsonville is like way lower than it was in the 90s. So like you can't even like justify that as a thing. And I hate to know that like my students could be targeted just because some of them dress a certain way, or because the cops are going to look at them and think of them in a certain way. If you wanted to keep kids out of troubles, like the city is already cutting funding for Parks and Rec. So like kids are going to have even less things to do after school. And like, why can't we have things like intramural sports where kids play against each other and we have other kids ref? Like that would be such a fun thing to have after school, where you can still keep kids like on campus or like busy, instead of, I don't know, just having like spending $500,000 on a cop who's gonna sit around during lunch in his car or like walk around and just chatting. Like, why are you spending that much money for this? If there was an emergency, we could call the police department. It's literally not that far from Watsonville High. Another thing on career day is that I have a problem with, I'm just going to bring this up, is apart from like the presence of military, is the lack of trade school presence. And I don't know why this is a thing in schools, but you guys don't talk to kids about the options with trade schools. When you guys fail the kids from a young age because you put them in overcrowded schools, and then they're not as confident in their reading levels, their like writing levels, in their math skills, and then you tell them like, oh, like here are your options, military or college, and then you don't give them the option for trade schools, when like that is leaving like out so many options that kids can have where they could be earning more than minimum wage, or don't have to go like fight in a war that like isn't about them. It's always about people who are more powerful and want more money. Another thing is, since this next year we're probably not going to be in school because of coronavirus, or we're not going to be in for a while, it's like, why are you going to renew this contract when you're still going to be like spending money on time we're not even in class? So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for setting this up, and thank you for the people who showed up to listen.
Thank you, Tweety. Next speaker.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, so my name is Angel Garcia Lopez. I'm an incoming senior at Watsonville High School. And it's been seen with other school districts and how they got rid of all the RSROs in the district. So there's no excuse to eradicate the contract we have with the police department here. And nothing justifies still keeping them here on our campuses. And my question is, who are they supporting? Because they're definitely not supporting me. They're not supporting my fellow peers or other students at school. They're not the ones who are supporting me and to apply to college this fall. They are not the ones who gave me fee waivers for standardized tests like the SAT, the ACT. EAOP were the ones who did that. They're not the ones who are going to be sitting in, taking the time out of their days to help me apply to college. So they're not ones creating sense of community. Teachers are, and even then they're not receiving fair wages. And so I feel like, simply put, we don't need SROs because they're not creating a sense of community for me and for other students as well. And we need to allocate funding elsewhere. So at Watsonville High, if I'm not wrong, there's only one social emotional counselor on that campus. And from what I've heard from fellow peers and my friends, they don't feel supported enough by this social emotional counselor because this person's crowded with a lot of students who need their support, and there's only one. So I think it's necessary to have more professionals, even teachers who need training. So districts, we need the district to put the funding to train professionals to deal with this matter. So like I think Anthony was talking about the wellness center at Watsonville High School that we have. So it was created and funded by students. And if I'm not wrong, I don't think the district supported that. I don't think they provided funding for that or did anything to support that. So it shows how they district does not support mental health. It doesn't support resources. So like for students for higher education or for trade school or any other pathways that students might be interested in. So that's really unfortunate. And I want the district to support us. And I feel like that the first step they can do is get rid of SROs. And yeah, that's what I have to say for now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Angel.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. Thanks, Ryan, for having this meeting. Thank you for all the students and fellow former students who have been able to speak out about their feelings about SROs. My name's Isaiah Castro. I attended Watsonville High and graduated in 2007, which seems like a long time ago. And I am currently a staff at Watsonville High. So I have a dual perspective on this topic, and I kind of wanted to share my opinions. I know the thinking behind why SROs are necessary on school campuses. I understand that with the climate of school shootings that had happened in recent years, why parents might have pushed for this or might have thought that it was necessary to have police intervention readily on hand. But I've been a Watsonville resident almost all my life, and having attended the high school and now being at the school as a teacher, I have not seen any instances where a police officer was needed to intervene in any situation that campus security couldn't handle themselves. I feel that we're spending as a district $500,000 on 3 officers for the 3 high schools, when in all reality, that funding should go elsewhere. That funding should go to AOP. AOP should not have been the first thing to be thought of to cut. I know a program that was around a few years ago, maybe a little longer than that, that was called Breakaway. It was another after-school program that helped students that intermingled the idea of academics and sports. And as a Watsonville community member, I do know that sports is a very important thing to the community. But also teaching them that there also is a place for education and giving kids a safe place to go to do homework, to get away from anything that might be distracting them outside or going into some different activity that would lead to them having to be intervened with police. And I find that we defund these kind of programs, yet we as a district are able to fund with our own money that we get from the state and the government, police officers, SROs on campuses. I think if the budget for a city incorporates at least half, maybe more of their budget towards police officers and police departments, they can fund their own SROs. If it's such a necessity that schools need them or it becomes a vote and they vote that they want SROs, that funding should not come from the district. The district should only fund things that will gear students and better prepare them for higher learning. And again, to reiterate the point of the Breakaway program, it wasn't that college was the only option, it was a option. There are trade schools, there are community colleges, there are many different aspects. Personally, within my own family, my whole family, parents, cousins have all gone and attended and graduated from Watsonville High. My wife has graduated from Watsonville High. So we're very entrenched in this community and this school and in the district. But a perfect example, my cousin was not big into school. He barely passed with just average grades, and he knew college would not be an option for him because he didn't feel that it was something he wanted to do. Yet he was able to find a career in something and now has a passion within the city because he loves the city and he wants to give back to the city. And he helps out the city. And this would not have been something that would have been possible if we didn't have, he heard about trade schools outside of the school. He heard about trade schools to work through the city outside of our own district. These kind of funding things should go to those kind of programs. We need to help our students in every way possible, give them every possible avenue to have a better life and to excel past high school, and tell them they can achieve anything they want, whether it's being a carpenter or being an artist or becoming a teacher or sitting on the board of trustees. Anything that they want to do, they can achieve and not feel like, well, I'm brown, so I might be incarcerated, because that's how police officers look at me. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Also, I know in the presentation that they had at the last board meeting, they talked about how since 2018, 2019, and 2017, 2018, the amount of suspensions and expulsions have gone down, yet referenced information that SROs have no involvement in suspending or expelling students. So if that's information you want to give and say that SROs don't have those capabilities, then the fact that these numbers have gone down prove nothing, that SROs actually prevent these numbers from going down. So I think we really need to take a look at the facts, really look at what's going on in our schools, and SROs really aren't needed. Mental health professionals, intervention teachers, social workers, people of the like need to be there to help our students, because they're not criminals. They're just teenagers trying to get through life. Thank you.
Have another speaker?
I have something just super quick. In case, no one's been looking at the chat, I really want to encourage our school district representatives to look at the chat that we have ongoing this conversation. The experiences that we discuss here are shared experiences. They're not just the experience of a particular individual. Our students have so much potential, and we are hurt that we feel like we have to fight for our school district to see that. So please listen to us on all platforms and even beyond this conversation tonight.
Hi, everybody. Can I speak?
Yes.
My name is Ramiro Medrano. I'm a counselor at PV, and I don't want to take a long time. I've been listening in to all the students. I first just want to say it's amazing to hear all of the voices, and it's amazing to see this, just to be present in this. And I feel like this is, a historic time. We're living in times that, are going to be written about in books, and you are all being active participants about this, not just sitting, in the sidelines. My name is Ramiro Medrano. I'm a counselor at PV High School. But besides a counselor, I am also an alumnus from Watsonville High School, although I didn't graduate from Watsonville High. I attended Watsonville High School from 1993 to 1997. At the time, PV High wasn't around. It was only Watsonville High School. And a school that was designed for 1,700 students had over 3,000 students enrolled the entire 4 years that I was there. And I didn't have counselors. There were no counselors. Counselors were defunded at that time, and Watsonville High didn't have any counseling staff. And so I look back at my experience at Watsonville High School, and I feel like I have been failed. There was no EAOP, there was no Gear Up, there were no counselors, but I just learned at the last PVUSD school board meeting that the first SRO was employed by PVUSD at Watsonville High School in 1994, which was pretty much the year that I started high school there. And so I'm kind of connecting the dots. And, the last speaker just said that she feels hurt. I feel you. because I feel the same way. I feel that PVUSD stole my opportunity at being a college student. Eventually, I went to college, but I had to work super hard at it because there were a lot of factors, right? I'm a first generation. I'm the oldest in my family, so I didn't have any older brothers or sisters explaining, telling me, you know, who to talk to, what to do to go to college. There was no EAOP. There was no gear. I had no counselors. And so, but now that I look back at 1994 when that first SRO was employed by PVUSD, it means that they defunded my counselor in order to employ a cop to be in my school. And that contributed to me not graduating from high school. And so then I had to learn from a peer that even though I didn't graduate from high school, I could still enroll in community college. A peer did that to me. A peer changed my life, not a teacher, not a counselor, not anybody else. And so I enrolled at Cabrillo College, and it took me a long time. It took me 5 years to get out of Cabrillo because I was remedial, because I hadn't graduated. And even after, you know, transferring from Cabrillo to CSUMB, it still took me a long time to get my BA. I'm 41 years old, and I just became a counselor about 5 years ago. That should have happened 10, 15 years ago. PVUSD stole 10 to 15 years of my life. And so I hear a lot of our students now, and I see, and I'm so happy, I'm almost moved to tears of so many of our students who are now college students. You know, I've heard of UC Berkeley, USC, man, this is awesome. I also want to point out that there aren't a lot of our students who have also been failed by this district in this call right now. And I want to be one of those voices, okay? Because for a fact, I know that a lot of our students are pushed out into county schools. For a fact, I know that a lot of our students, they don't find that support because there aren't many support for struggling students. EAOP is great, don't get me wrong. I worked for Gear Up, which is the sister organization for EAOP. I worked for 7 years. I helped that organization and that program expand to what it is, okay? Don't get me wrong, it's a great program, but we need programs that are gonna help the students that are struggling academically, that are struggling emotionally, that are struggling mentally. So we need more than support to go to college. That's great, that's necessary, but we need a lot more. Organizations like Barrios Unidos, organizations like Community Action Board, organizations like Monarch Services that we can actually create a partnership with and create, you know, programs that are going to be evaluated, that are going to be, you know, looked at and designed with the input of teachers, of students, of counselors. This is, I think, you know, moving forward is very important. And defunding the police and getting rid of SROs cannot be the end of it. That's the first step. That is only the very first step. We're going to have to come together. We're going to have to really plan this out in order to support all of the students in our community to become, you know, valuable members of society. If it wouldn't have been for that peer, I would not be sitting with you today. I would not be a counselor. You know, we have, as Watsonville natives, we are not less than. We have a lot to contribute to this world, to this community, and everybody needs to realize that. I want to point out, for those of you board members, Dr. Rodriguez, if you're still here listening, if in your mind there is a doubt that maybe SROs on campus, there is no direct link to the school to prison pipeline, well then ask yourself, why in the last 3 years, where there are 38 citations at Watsonville High School and PV High School from SROs, 38 citations, and only 3 at Aptos High School. That is an average, what? 5 times greater at each of the Watsonville high schools, an average of 5-6 times more citations than at Aptos High School. Tell me why in Watsonville High School was the SRO program started in 1994, and at Aptos High School it was started till 2004. A full 10 years later. And only until after Watsonville students started to be bused to Aptos High School. I don't forget, I was around, there was a contingency of parents and educators from North County who wanted to break off from PVUSD and create their own district because they felt that we were too different to Aptos. So this is all veiled racism. This is institutionalized racism. And we have an opportunity right now to start dismantling, but more importantly, to work together to create a more just, a more equitable education and society for us, for our children, because I have 2 girls that are proud. I'm proud to say that they're PVUSD students, but I'm proud to say they're PVUSD students not because of the education that I got, but because I know that there's a strong community in Watsonville that is not going to let them fall through the cracks like I did. I want to thank Mr. Jones for putting this together and everybody here who's listening in.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm under my sister-in-law's account, but I'm a Watsonville High alumni, class of 2016. And I wasn't going to speak, so it's kind of just bullet points here. But I also believe that the SRO should be removed altogether for the reasons that everybody's been saying. Our youth is being taught to fear the police in school, and then people question why they resist out in the community. But I also feel that this issue and the amount of the community members that are here today shows that this is a part of a bigger picture. I'm happy that EAOPS is back, but I also feel that we should create additional programs to strengthen the goals of our students for the future. We as students thrive off of what we're given, and when we aren't provided with the tools for the future, we fall under the stereotypes that we're expected to become. I'm listening and engaging in hopes that this district will be completely different for the small children that I work with now. And I also wanted to touch base on military recruits on campus. My mom, a Watsonville High alumni, also is listening, and she wanted to share her experience also. She says that they made my brother, her son, feel like he had no other option because he couldn't afford college. He was being groomed to believe that he needed to fight for a country he didn't believe in just to have a future. And then also in regards to mental health, I believe that we should have a class or in regards to it or incorporate programs that support it. Because now as an adult, I find that I'm barely unpacking past traumas and acknowledging that they negatively affected my path to a higher education. And in some ways, I wish I could say that I'm the only one that's going through this, but I know that countless of my peers and people that I graduated with are also going through the same thing, and it's affecting their times right now in university. And I just want the board members to know that we're here and we're listening, and whatever these board meetings look like in the past, they're changing now. Because we want more, and we're not going to settle, or we're not going to continue to settle for what we haven't been given or what we have been given. Because I know that the community members are strong and there's a future here for everybody. We're just not given the tools to pursue it. So I'm happy that so many people are here and supporting, and I just really hope that it continues and we don't lose momentum, because I know that in the future, more and more things are going to come up that we're going to need to speak up about. And I'm just super happy, and I just want to continue and like show my support for the community that gave me so much. Thank you.
So it's getting a little bit late. Well, not late, but we've been here for a while. But I don't want to cut anyone off that is really, really wanting to speak their mind, and won't get the chance. So if there's someone who hasn't spoken yet and you really wanted to, let's hear you.
Can you hear me really quick? I will try not to
Yeah.
take too much time. All right, so really quick. First of all, thank you for putting this together. Thank you for the board trustees that are here and for everybody else that made it. My name is Elias Gonzalez. I'm a community member. I'm also a expelled ex-student from Watsonville High School in 1994, but was able to navigate that system and come back and graduate in 95. So I'm a former student. I'm also a parent of 2 PV High School students, one PV High School and one graduate that's actually on the line as well. But I do work at an organization named MILPA. And, you know, the work that we do at the national level is around ending mass incarceration. And everything that we're talking about here is directly connected to it. The school to prison pipeline, the lack of funding for education for our children, the systemic racism. I'm looking at the resolution that the school board actually talked about, and they actually signed into effect. And they were talking about addressing systemic racism, and nowhere in there did they even address the issue of white supremacy, which one of our young scholars here brought up the fact that, you know, that's where policing comes. We don't need policing in our schools. We've been in a mental health epidemic way before this pandemic even happened. We have been in a mental health situation, and I deal with this on a personal level and a family level. So for me, we really do need more everything. We don't need no more policing. We don't need policing of our youth. And I can attest, I graduated in 95. In 1994 is when they came in. And in 1994 was when President Clinton actually signed the Bill Act, the crime prevention, where they actually had the super predator concept. And that's when the whole idea started coming up, the super predator concept, where we were all people of color supposed to be these super predators. And the reality was that it's a false theory now, but yet all those policies remain in place. And yet our people of color are being criminalized. If we see the jails, people of color being incarcerated at higher rates. And that's what we're seeing, not just throughout the United States, in California. We're also continue seeing lower crime rates. And I continue hearing police take credit for that. Well, I like to just say this, that there's national efforts happening, not just in California, but all over the state to make these reforms. So for police to come in here and say that they are taking this doesn't make sense to me. So just, I think that the reality is that we need to work as a community. I'm very proud of all the young folks that came here. And let's organize. I'm here to organize, work with the folks. You are the next 7 generations. You are the leaders of this community. You are going to be the school board members. You are going to be the city council members. Let's organize. I can support it any which way. Do let me know. That's what I do for work, but that's also what I do as a community member. And like I said, I would love to support anybody and everybody that's able to want to do some work. Yes, I'll say that much. Thank you very much for everybody for your time.
And Alejandra, I saw your comment that you wanted to go next. You still there? Go for it. Oops, she's having mic trouble. Oh no. Okay, go for it.
Hi. I was wondering if I could probably get a chance if it's okay. If not, the other
Yeah.
person could go. I just didn't want to take over. So
Go
I
ahead.
kind of joined a bit late. But hi, my name is Andrea. I'm actually a recent Aptos graduate. And I just wanted to start off by saying that I really regret not being able to go to Watsonville or PV because I'm very surprised at all these things happening despite living in Watsonville. And I wish I could have to see everything that's happening and to would have realized sooner what kind of district we have and how they're not helping our students and how they're not making a difference at all and how unexceptional it is. And I hope that in the future they can better it, and not just in the future but now, because I have a younger sister and I don't want her attending any high school where they won't be giving opportunities not just to her but to anybody else, because that's not what we deserve. We deserve better. So don't be telling me that you raise the future leaders but you don't do anything about it if you ignore what we want. And that's all I just wanted to say, pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Jones. Thank you for making this and creating a space where everybody is welcome and free to say what they want. My name is Adam. I grew up in this community, went to school here all my life, graduated Watsonville in 2013. And I work in the district, and it's a little off-putting how many police officers I see at schools like EA Hall and Pajaro Middle School, and obviously the ones that are at the high schools. I just want to let the board know that they need to hear us. That the kids and everybody's voices are valid, and and it's also the people that aren't here. It really goes to show. It's like almost like a slap in the face. Everybody that's here and everybody that's listening, that they really don't care. And this whole conversation started because a black man was unjustly murdered by the police, and that shouldn't happen. And shout out to Mr. Jones. Shout out to everybody that's speaking, and yeah, off with the SROs. Thank you.
All right, Alejandro, how's your mic going? Still figuring out.
Can I interject in the meantime?
Yeah. Okay.
I'd just like a quick check-in on the trustees, if they are still here. I noticed you had mentioned the Serpa was here, but I don't see her in the chat. And I also wanted to confirm with the trustees that they are reading the students' comments on the chat as well as listening to them.
Sure. So we do have the trustees present. I'll let them speak in a second, but I wanted to point one thing out. They're very, very limited in what they can say to us on here. And the reason that they're limited is because of that thing that I introduced at the very beginning called the Brown Act.
No, yeah, I
And
understand. I just want like a quick, yes, we're here, we're listening. Yes, we're here, we're reading the chat. Just to like.
Okay, sure. We'll do that in a second too. I did see somebody else's slight hint of sharing their screen and sharing that comment of wanting to hear some answers and some speaking from the board members. So I just wanted to speak to that comment real quick too, and just share that the reason that they're very limited in what they can say to us during this meeting is because this is just us. This isn't a fully public public board meeting. And they're only supposed to speak about these issues when everyone is watching. And that's what the Brown Act protects. So if they started speaking to us in this environment here, they'd be violating the Brown Act. And we don't want to create that sort of problem either. So it sounds limiting, like it's frustrating because it's like, I want to hear from those people. But it's actually a good thing because it's really protecting transparency from them, going on their own Google Meet, just the 7 of them or whatever, and then having their own conversation about this stuff too. So it sounds frustrating, but it's also a way of protecting us as a public. So I'll give a quick acknowledgement if the trustees just wanted to check in real quick and say hi.
Hi, this is Maria Orozco. I've been listening to everyone's comments. I've also been copying and pasting and putting my notes on a Google document so that I have a chance to look at those questions that were posted at tonight's gathering, and then also the ideas that all of you have brought up. So I am here, I am listening. Yeah, thank you.
And Jen Holm here, and yes, I'm listening and monitoring the chat as well.
And I'm not a board member, but I'm the superintendent, and I'm here and listening as well. If there's a chance, a different venue, I want to let the students speak, but I can provide some context with the EOP contract.
And I correct me if I'm wrong, she can speak up, but I don't think DSERPA is actually on this call. Is that right? So I think I made a mistake at the beginning. Sorry.
I was surprised that you said that she was here in the first place, to be honest.
We invited her.
I did. I invited all the board members. With kind of that said,
Ryan, can I interject really quick? So Kim just texted me, and she said she's one of the phone numbers listed on the call. And for some reason she's muted, so she can't speak up. So she just texted me that.
Okay.
And so she's confirming that she's on the meeting and that she's listening. And that she's listening and has been on the meeting since the get-go.
Okay, that's good. Good. Thank you for that clarification. With that, I don't want to cut anybody off that really wants to speak, but we do have to end it, I think, at some point, right? I want to really thank everybody for taking all of this time to just listen and just to be here and to share your thoughts and to be brave and speak up. It's almost 8 o'clock and there's still 58 people on this meeting, and it just shows how much you care, but it also shows how much you have to say, and that you have a voice and that you're speaking and that you're using it. And I just applaud you guys for that. As one of your teachers, it just makes me really impressed that you this is kind of what I had hoped that you would become. And I'm just really ridiculously proud to be one of your old teachers. I'm seeing that Alejandra wants to speak. Go for it. You'll be our last speaker, Alejandra.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for coordinating this, and thank you to everyone who has spoken, because I've been sitting here this whole time almost 2 hours now, and I've been listening with my younger brother who is 9 years old and is a fourth grader and entering fourth grader. And he's also, you know, as a 9-year-old asking these questions as to like, why is there police? And he's listening to all these people who are scared and is equally as scared entering middle school. And that's where I kind of wanted to start because I attended Rolling Hills and I graduated PV. And even since 6th grade, we've had a security officer on campus who most of the time was just kind of really mean, really like aggressive towards like keeping us in order and keeping law and order and keeping just like targeting students who were like dressed in a certain way or spoke in a certain way. And it was with like these SRO or security officers and even SROs in high school where I had a really scarring kind of interaction where I will give content warning of homophobia. So in middle school, it was like being closeted. In high school, it was being closeted and passing by a security officer who referred to me as someone who could be of the LGBT community, but referred to me as someone who is less than because I was dressed in a certain way, and even said in Spanish that what is this marica doing in like just walking around so freely. So I wanted to give that as to like a personal experience with SROs and just in general the kind of climate they leave on campus, and that they ensure that students are being watched and that we know we're being watched and we know we're being policed and we know that if we dress in a certain way, we're going to get told some shit. And excuse my language, but quite honestly, it doesn't help in any kind of way to students who are not seen as like academically capable, who are seen as like they have behavior issues. So that's on them, and that's not something that the schools can fix. And that's in a system that doesn't allow students to question like who they are or like who is policing them and who is telling them what to do. So moving forward, I'd really like the board to fund programs that are actually restorative and actually helpful and actually help us day to day in our everyday lives, in our everyday circumstances, not that further police and criminalize our bodies and our voices and our actions. Because, you know, having family who went to PV and graduated from PV and having a younger brother who is going to graduate from PV, I definitely don't want him feeling that kind of intimidation or feeling any kind of lack of safety because of those police presence. And so just to really call on you to reinvest in our community and reinvest and reimagine in the ways that we can show up for our students every day, and not just the ones who you deem academically capable, but the ones like that are going to float through the system and they're not going to make it. So yeah, thank you. And thank you all who called in and said thank you for letting me speak. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ale. I'm really just blown away and impressed, and I hope that you feel that you have a voice and you understand just how powerful that voice is. There was a couple speakers who felt I overheard or heard them speak about how you know, that they have hesitations about getting involved with any kind of change or any kind of governing movement. And you know, this is it. Like, this is the work that it takes to get involved and to create the kind of community and kind of society that you want to see. This is exactly the work that it takes. So let this, if this was the first time for some of you that spoke up for the first time like that, let this be the first of countless times throughout your life where you speak up, where you show up to board meetings, either online like this, our new normal, our new reality, or in person. Go to city council meetings and speak your voice. Your voice has more power than you understand. I so appreciate everybody that is here on this call, that took the time to sit here and to speak and to listen to everybody else's voice and to support, support all of these speakers. Yeah, I'm blown away by you guys. I did not think that it would be this big. I was anticipating that maybe like 6 or 7 of you would come and show up, and I'm really proud of all of you. I'll give some closing comments, if you like, to the board members and to our superintendent, and then we'll say goodbye.
I'd just like to say I am a PVUSD alumni, and I am now a PVUSD parent, and I am so incredibly touched and just in awe of all of the students that spoke today. You guys are so powerful, and watching you guys organize like this with such short notice just gives me a small glimpse of what you guys are capable. And I just want to encourage you guys to continue to be involved, continue to keep these people accountable, because we can vote them out. Their seats are not guaranteed. They are here to work for you. And if you are not happy with what they're doing, you guys do have the power to keep them accountable. So I do want to encourage you guys to continue to get organized, reach out to other students like-minded like you guys, post on social media, tag them on their Facebook, tag them on their Instagram, keep them accountable. This is their job. They have to listen to you. And if after 2 hours of them listening to you guys, they are not moved, there's something wrong. They need to be voted out, because I am in tears listening to you guys. You guys are valid. What you feel is valid. I have stuff that I carry from WHS from 15 years ago with SROs, and you guys, and I never spoke about it, right? And I'm a grown-ass woman now, and seeing you guys doing it now, you are so powerful. I just want to thank Mr. Jones for creating this, and I just want to say that I'm not shocked. I'm just happily surprised at how many kids are here, how many spoke, and I want to just continue to push from here. You guys are amazing, and I'm so proud of the PVUSD students.
Thank you. Would our trustees and our superintendent like to give any closing remarks?
So if I could just say a few things. So one, I hear your hurt. I hear your anger and your frustration. I want you to know that I do believe in the students within this school district. I know that it was a challenging decision regarding the EAOP. So the program has been in the district for 30 years. Every 4 years, it would leave the school, it would leave the high schools, and it would, for 3 years, it would go to middle schools. 2 years ago, we chose, because of you, we chose to commit to a contract so that that wouldn't happen, to where you would have continued services for students. Unfortunately, when we came to the $19 million deficit, that luckily did not happen. I have parameters because of contracts of what we can actually close out and what we can't. I recognize that it hurt you, and I recognize that it made you believe that I don't believe in you, and that's furthest from the truth. For 30 years, I've been in education, and I have always supported vulnerable student populations, and that's the reason why I came to PVUSD. For Watsonville. I live in Watsonville, and I am here for you. We didn't announce the EAOP contract release specifically because we were hoping that we could bring it back, and we did. And that's what I mentioned at the board meeting. I recognize that I have to earn back your trust, but I want you to know that I do care for the students deeply here, and I see how the actions have hurt you and how they have made you feel, and I listen to that. And I'll end there.
Trustee Holm.
Just I appreciate everyone that spoke. You know, the trauma that you've shared and the vulnerability you demonstrated in sharing that. And I take these words to heart.
Thank you. Trustee Orozco.
Thank you all for being so open and willing to be vulnerable. I know it's not easy. So there's a lot of emotion that I'm feeling because it is impactful. It is impactful. Your voice is powerful. Your experiences are valid. And I just want you to know that I'm listening and that I'm not going to take what you shared tonight with all of us lightly in you know, tough decisions that will be coming for the board approval or non-approvals in the next couple of board meetings. So, you know, thank you. Thank you for sharing your experiences. The number one priority or role as a board of trustees is to represent the interests of students above everything else, above the teachers, above staff, above everyone else, is really taking what you have to say and putting it into action. So know that you're being heard and listened to, and that I value all of you. I am a former PVUSD student myself. So I went through the same schools. I face similar challenges. And now as a mom with a special needs student and 2 other children that are also going to be going through our PVU schools, you know, it's now the decisions even more so, right? It's even more personal, right? Because now it's not just taking into account the challenges of former students and current students. It's also setting the stage for future generations. So thank you so much.
And thank you, everyone. I want you to know that I could be wrong on this, but this is going to be brought up again at the July 22nd board meeting. Nod if okay. And so put that in your calendar if this is an issue that you want to, again, make your voice heard, that this is being brought up again at on July 22nd. And you know what to do. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I so appreciate this. I'm blown away by how many of you are here and how many of you stayed this whole entire time.
Wait,
I hope that this... Go ahead,
sorry
Tony.
to cut you off, Jones, but can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay, as final words, I just wanted to let everyone know that organizing has already been taking place, and there's links throughout the chat where we have linked an email list for more students to get involved, because we've been looking for more community involvement, and we would like people to be aware of this resource, PVUS students_deserve on IG, and on Twitter, PVSD students. And please sign up the form on the email list, because we are looking for more involvement from the community. And I just wanted people to know that that's a resource that's out there for them.
And Tony, I think those are the perfect ending words for this. Thank you.
Period.
Period. You got it, buddy. All right, everybody. Thank you. I hope I get to see you all again really soon, hopefully in person, because I'm tired of looking at you in a little box. I love you guys. Miss you. Have a great evening. Bye.